Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We're going to get started right now. iCCup versus VP, virtus.pro. It's way delayed, but we are in game now, so I'm going to head it over to you. Thanks for coming, and this will be game one. And I'm going to unmute my co-caster, who's going to be Vykromond today, and also, of course, we're going to have K-Poptosis helping out with stats. And we're going to be doing this live while VP is not, or Sheever's not here. So, hope you guys enjoy it, and obviously try not to be too harsh. We know that you all miss Sheever already.
I miss Sheever.
Everyone misses Sheever. Hello, Vykromond. And we're ready to get underway. What do you think of these bans thus far? I think
Well, we were
interesting.
Yeah, we were talking in the pre-show, I feel like, about are they just going to go standard bans or are they going to go all in on these pockets? And it definitely seems way more pocket-oriented. VP banning the Weaver that we were talking about as a potential difference maker for Jackal and iCCup, and iCCup taking out the OD and thus breaking my heart because I was, of course, looking for some huge Sanity's Eclipses. But I can't find fault with any of these bans. I think these are heroes that are tremendously strong and heroes that could make a difference in the matchup if one team got them.
Yeah, definitely these are the heroes that make the game, I think, and they leave IO and they leave Batrider both in the pool. So we're going to get to see those heroes, and VP pick up IO first. We'll see if they can use it effectively, but I kind of imagine they will. I've seen them before with this hero. It's pretty powerful, and they usually do a pretty good job of running it.
Yeah, I'm interested in this IO. I think VP are very strong with the IO. I used to think of them as less, like they're a little less, like they won't take it 100% of the time if it's available. They take it most of the time rather than let it go to the other team, but they're actually, of the CIS teams, they're one of the ones with the least propensity for IO and the best record against it. But still, this is a hero that even with multiple rounds of nerfs is too strong to ignore almost. And I'm sure VP knew what they were doing by leaving Batrider out because they knew that iCCup was likely to grab that hero up for most likely resolution. He is their most common Batrider player. I am interested, though, the Darkseer ban from iCCup, targeted XC, I assume. Do you think that this is strong enough to warrant a first ban, or is it more part of strategically they didn't want to drop IO or Batrider or something?
I'm not sure if it's just they wanted to keep both of those heroes in the pool. I imagine since one was going to make it, maybe that was their strategy as well. We'll leave both because we don't want to give Batrider away and not get something in trade, so we'll have to give the IO away and take the Batrider. Because that's kind of what you assume the picks will go with. Almost always IO will be picked first and Batrider second in that situation. At the same time, there are other heroes they could have banned out over the Darkseer that we commonly see banned in this first ban phase. Darkseer's sort of fallen out of favor from getting banned and picked very early in the drafts, I feel like. Some teams will still go with him pretty early, and I guess VP are one of those teams, but there are also other heroes that C could very easily play that are just as effective, if in different ways.
Yeah, and this will be interesting, actually, because VP secured the Chaos Knight. They didn't want sort of a second-rate IO pair. They wanted the premier reserve, sort of, and because we live in a world with three picks, rather two picks in the first phase rather than three, this does leave iCCup open to ban out Nature's Prophet. And Xi is a player who's not talked about as having a limited hero pool compared to somebody like Admiral Bulldog, but actually a small pool of heroes do comprise a large portion of like his playtime. Like he does play mostly Nature's Prophet, Darkseer, Lone Druid, and Batrider in that order, and none of them are available. Do you see iCCup banning out Nature's Prophet here and just trying to pressure Xi to go on something weird?
Yeah, I think Xi is somewhat more of a quiet giant as opposed to Admiral Bulldog, where he's very obvious in the heroes that he likes to play. And as a result, he doesn't catch the flack that maybe Admiral Bulldog does, even though they're both pretty similar in that extent, where they really just play the same few heroes. I guess it's just offlane heroes don't really get the bans as often as a lot of other heroes on the map. We often see supports getting banned out in this middle phase because supports don't get picked up early. And then towards the end, maybe a carry, a mid-hero, depending on what's left. Yeah, I think if they wanted to ban out Nature's Prophet here and they actually go for it, it would be a very powerful thing. We're going to force Cassie to play something that we don't usually see him on.
Yeah, and VP, meanwhile, focusing mostly on these sort of mid-game carries. They want to try to... I feel like VP, if they take out all the mid-game carries and force iCCup to go something, a harder carry, like, you know, Anti-Mage or Morphling or something, Jackal actually plays a lot of Morphling, iCCup have to be extremely careful because they can get really punished by IOCK. Morphling does have some innate defense against the CK-IO combo. He can either try to live for 12 seconds just with Strength Morph. He can try to replicate away. Like if he has an active replicate somewhere else on the field, he can just replicate to it as soon as he sees the IOCK teleport. It's worth noting, of course, that 6.78 and some recent actual content, not content, but bug fix patches to Dota 2 have made it so that you always see where the IO is actually going, whereas you used to sometimes have it be an extremely unpleasant surprise. So if Jackal is fast-fingered on something like Morphling, he may still be able to escape, but I still feel as though VP's strategy here is to try to configure iCCup into having to go late and then punish them before they can possibly do that. And they are going to go with Clockwork for C, which I think makes perfect sense given the draft so far.
Yeah, taking up this off-lane hero that also gives them some pretty good team fight, and it's somewhat effective against Batrider as long as you don't try and force it into that mid lane role. I just feel like it's too weak to send up against Batrider in mid. You just give away that lane and Batrider gets a great start. But when it comes to just team fighting, Clockwork has several abilities that are very effective against Batrider, and also works as an off-lane hero when they're really struggling for choices in a game like this.
Yep. Kunkka for iCCup, so this could be dual mid, actually. They could run the dual mid, Batrider in the jungle, Lone Druid and somebody, but it could also just be a Kunkka tri-lane. I think both are actually somewhat viable. The nice thing about Kunkka is, as long as he's able to hit his item breakpoints, I think he's okay. The other really cool thing about Kunkka is if you survive a IO Chaos Knight gank, you just drop an X on one of them as they're leaving, and then you say hi to them when they come back, and you get a free kill. But other than that, Kunkka is potentially vulnerable to those ganks.
Yeah, definitely Kunkka is effective against heroes that teleport around the map with the X marks a spot, and in general, he's just a very powerful initiation hero. Almost all of his spells are really great for initiating. X obviously gets a lot of range as you put levels into it. Boat, if you have anything else that can set up, Boat is a great spell to just run in with. Even if you miss it, as long as it passes over your team and you get the buff on you, it can make it great for just running into the fight and start brawling. Yeah, Kunkka definitely a powerful hero here, especially against the IO, because like you mentioned, if they try and get out with it and you X them, it's not going to work out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, I wonder if they can make the lanes work with the dual mid, because if they pressure Tame My Wild sometimes, I don't want to say he falls apart, but a lot of pressure early can knock him off his game a bit, because he's such an aggressive mid that I feel like regardless of how well the early game goes for him, he still goes all in. He'll still go super hype, and if he's under-farmed on someone like Queen of Pain, you can start getting super hype and just die again and again and again. So iCCup will definitely try to layer on the pressure. I don't necessarily know how much pressure they'll be able to generate with just Batrider, because that's a matchup that Queen of Pain's okay in, but I'm also not sure how they make the lanes work if they want to run the dual mid against her. The nice thing about playing against Queen of Pain, though, is VP have a very, very burst-oriented composition so far, and as long as Kunkka gets the boat, burst is pretty poor against him.
Yeah, definitely. There's also a chance that this iCCup lineup, with their maybe showing a dual mid, was expecting VP to run Chaos Knight IO mid, which is definitely something that happens, particularly on the Radiant side, which is where they currently are. So maybe they're sort of hedging against that just to start off the match, and with this Lich pickup, I'm not sure where he's going to necessarily lane.
Well, wherever he is going to have your mana. No,
That's true.
I think they're still trying to be a little cagey about the lanes, in my opinion. Like, one thing that actually could kind of work would be Lich in the hard. Depending on what VP's fifth pick is, Lich in the hard could potentially be viable just to take a lot of XP away. Or Lich in the safe, Lone Druid in the hard, Batrider in the jungle, dual mid, which is actually also an option. IO is not really a hero that punishes Lone Druid all that much, so I feel like that's something that they could potentially go for.
Yeah, I agree. This last pick, Lina, definitely an aggressive support for the hands of Arsart, and do you think that means they're going to run this as a tri-lane? Obviously, Lina's pretty good with Chaos Knight. You have that setup stun with the Chaos Bolt, and then you can land Light Strike Array to continue that stun.
Yeah. I don't think Tame My Wild is going to take this Queen of Pain into a solo safe capacity. I suspect that they are going to just run that mid, Then the CK, I mean, the nice thing about Lina, she needs a setup stun. She's like Leshrac that way. It's kind of hard to land Light Strike against a professional player if they're just walking around. Not that Arsart hasn't done it a trillion times, because he has, but still. But the Chaos Knight gives you a free setup. He's going to land that Q stun, the Chaos Bolt, and once that lands, the Light Strike becomes a lot easier, as well as, you can Reality Rift on top of that, you can get the Tether stun from Io. I think this is a fairly strong choice for VP. I don't trust Lina in the hands of everybody, but Arsart's one of the people I do trust. She's a hero that has not performed that well in 6.78. She actually has even after Alliance won with her yesterday, she has the worst win rate of any hero picked more than like a handful of times, any hero picked more than like 5 times. So she's a tough hero to make work, but this is a situation where there are enough setup stuns, I feel, that she could start throwing out a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's actually interesting, I think, that Lina's win rate has gone so far down. Just a hero that has a lot of burst potential, but I don't know. And Toby's saying double chicken, and someone was asking if we can remake it. It's iCCup, and do they have 2 couriers? They do.
They accidentally bought the double courier.
Oh,
Oops.
so they immediately asked for the remake, and it was like, nope.
Yeah. Vlad said nope, and then he said no way. Sorry. So we are a little bit behind schedule, so a remake is not in the cards. StarLadder doesn't want another day. We did end the first day at 4 a.m. Kiev time, so I'm sure they don't want a repeat of that, especially since the CSGO Losers Bracket Finals ended up going epically late. In a good way, but also in a bad way, because we started late here.
Alright, I'm going to go over iCCup's players. We're going to have Mag up in the safe lane, farming on his lone druid. Looks like Resolution going to be playing the Bat Rider, hanging out in the jungle at the moment, Jackal in that mid lane on the Kunkka. Looks to be supported by Ouija Zik, who is playing the Shadow Demon, hanging out near that bottom rune at the moment. And finally, their off lane is going to be Always Wanna Fly, handling that Lich, just denying experience from the Chaos Knight and the Wisp as long as possible.
Yeah, alright, so I'm not that surprised at this lane. I think this was one of our theories for how it could work out, so iCCup is going to go with that. This is going to end up with a very starved Always Wanna Fly, but he will starve the tri-lane of XP a bit too. Speaking of that tri-lane, virtus.pro on the Radiant, seeking to redeem their lost honor after losing 2 extremely winnable games against Alliance. They want another crack at them, and the way that they're going to do it in Game 1 is with Illidan on the Chaos Knight, Arsart on the Lina, and NS on the Io in the tri-lane bottom. Then My Wild will be going up in the solo mid on one of his signature heroes, the Queen of Pain, rocking that hardcore TPL skin with all the views stacked up on it. And in the top, Xi will be going up on his Clockwork against Mag's Lone Druid, and already feeling a little bit of the heat, a little of the pressure in this 1v1 lane. What's your take on this Clockwork versus Lone Druid? Do you think Xi's going to be fine?
I think it's a pretty difficult matchup for Clockwork. You're going to get harassed out of lane quite a bit by the Lone Druid. Even if the bear is last hitting creeps, then the hero can be attacking you. If the hero is last hitting creeps, the bear is going to be attacking you. And it's really difficult to get close for Clockwork. Fortunately, he can sort of stay in experience range, and if he chooses to put more points in Rocket, he's put 1 thus far, you can sort of last hit with that and hope it all works out for best, get a little bit of farm, but it doesn't look like things are going to be too good for him up there.
Yeah. The really unfortunate thing about this double courier for iCCup is, I was going to say, a lot of the time, so one of the things about the courier nerf, the bottle crow nerf, was it was really targeted. The thing that it really killed was the dual bottle. So you used to have 1 courier and 2 bottles on it for like your offlane Clockwork, and then your mid lane, and you could ferry both of them and get them a crap ton of health and mana. But they really don't have that many people who want the bottle, unfortunately. Like, you could use double courier still to do that, sort of the Filipino style that even the Filipino people aren't really playing it anymore. But we're gonna get a gank in the mid.
Yep, and My Wild going to get caught by a disruption and immediately hit by the Torrent and Soulcatcher. Fortunately able to just blink away. Not quite enough damage at this early level to take down the Queen of Pain, and of course she has the blink to be able to walk away. Started actually with the Magic Stick, so gonna have a little bit of additional regen from that. Immediately bought a salve as well, working towards that bottle. And yeah, My Wild wins just so much with Queen of Pain, somewhat because they just pick Queen of Pain a lot. VP know that's a hero he is very comfortable with on this mid lane, Queen of Pain. And another gank coming, this time with the supports from VP.
Yeah, and there's the Dragon Slave being thrown out from Arsart. 1 more hit, even with the Spirits, will do the trick. It will be a first blood for Lina. Jackal in a lot of trouble too. The Light Strike Array landing blind. Io's here as well. One more set of Spirits maybe could do it, but Tame My Wild quite low. They have to call off the Hounds, but still the first blood against the dual lane. Nice blind Torrent. Tame My Wild in a tremendous amount of trouble. Now healing up with the healing salve, and he'll make it back to the tower. So definitely tilting it in VP's advantage to get the first blood in a lane as difficult as this. And Tame My Wild going for 27, I guess.
Yeah, and that was like a quarter of a second before the splash hit Tame My Wild from the Kunkka. And if that splash hits a creep and just hits Kunkka or Queen of Pain, she dies there. So good escape with that blink just coming off cooldown in time to get out. And definitely a good torrent by Jackal to try and even get the kill. Probably thought he almost had it.
Yeah. The one thing that this hasn't been that great for VP is so far they're not really getting levels for NS. I think that rotation was the right choice to try to get a little bit of an advantage in this mid, maybe even force the Shadow Demon away to do other stuff, or at least get rid of him for a while. But NS is kind of struggling. He hasn't had that much jungle time simply because of that rotation, so he's still stuck at level 2. That'll mean a little bit of a delay for the CK IO, and that means that iCCup will be higher level and better able to deal with that storm when it comes.
Yeah, definitely if they can get some more levels up on these other heroes, it's going to be much harder to gank into those heroes. And I don't know, they're doing okay in the mid lane. Definitely if Lone Druid is quite a high level by the time Wisp is starting to get to level 6 and they can get those really quick ganks, it's a lot harder to kill Bear, just because with his ultimate, he's so tanky. And actually Kasai is getting ganked, or taking a lot of damage right now up in this top lane, going to be able to walk away, but that Orb of Venom with the roots now from the level 3 Bear, it's a lot of damage and it's hard to get away from when you're a Clockwork.
It's incredibly strong. I mean, what are you going to do? Cogs the Bear in? Certainly not something that you want to take recourse in. Another attempt on Tame My Wild in the mid. There's the Soul Catcher. There's the Torrent. This might be it. They get him. A kill for Shadow Demon. I'm sure they would have preferred Jackal to pick that up rather than We Just Sick, but nonetheless. Meanwhile, they chase off Always Want to Fly in the bottom. Going to maybe try to pressure a tower eventually, although not on this creep wave. But that's a nice kill. And iCCup, honestly, I feel like they feel pretty good here. Always Want to Fly is getting levels just by pulling the lane back and relying on the fact that VP supports haven't always been here, and the mid's going okay for them too.
Yeah, all the lanes are going pretty much exactly how they want it to be. They're getting the kills on the Queen of Pain mid. They're going again at Tame My Wild, this time able to just get away. Only about 100 HP, but Tame My Wild really can't stand against this. As they're starting to get more and more levels, the burst damage they can throw out is starting to be too high. And if she gets disrupted, and they have Soul Catcher, Torrent, Splash, that's almost enough to just take her down from completely full HP, and now she's sitting at half.
Yeah. And one thing is, and this is really weird actually, I never finished my thought about the Couriers, but I was going to say VP is almost the kind of team here that you would expect to get 2 Couriers if anybody. And they're playing as if they have 2. They're actually doing the double fairy with the Clockwork and the Queen of Pain. But the problem is that post-nerf, this means that you can only carry, yeah, you can see it's carrying a 1-charge bottle for the Clockwork. I actually gave it back to him, he's trying to get the rune. This is bad for Tame My Wild, because he's already facing a difficult lane, and he's not going to have the full run of the bottle fairy. He's only going to have to share it with Clockwork. And they definitely can't put 2 empty bottles on it, so he's usually going to have to send it back with 1 charge. And that punishes him even more and puts him farther back on last hitting, etc.
Yep, and VP down in this bottom lane trying to set up more ganks on the Lich. Always Want to Fly the way back, and he knows that he's fine just staying back there. Normally Lich is sort of a supporty hero. He doesn't really care if he doesn't necessarily get the levels. He's just down here to try and make the experience go in the way of Illidan and NS in particular as slow as possible. You don't want them to be able to get that experience on that wood, be able to start ganking you on the map, putting the pressure everywhere, because while this is going on, their top lane, their mid lane, they're both going pretty well for iCCup.
Yeah, I think the good news for VP, Airman's doing great. He's got his treads, probably going to go for drums, is my guess. That's typically what the Chaos Knight does. Unless he's feeling so confident in his farm that he just leaps ahead to Armlet. But I still expect him to probably make those drums, especially with Lina, whose base movement speed is nothing to crow about. You really want to get those drums to sort of buff everybody up if they're chasing. So, Airman doing well. His levels are good, his farm is good, and it's just really bringing everybody else in line with that, because NS is somehow still stuck at 3. This is actually pretty slow for development for him. Why didn't they, a little bit weird with the creep wave here, I was expecting them to do this dual pull with the cut here, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. Does he not have a Tango? Yeah, he doesn't have a Tango in his inventory anymore. Maybe needed Lina to come over there and use one of those Tangos to cut down a tree, or I don't. Maybe Ennis thought he had a dingo when he started the pull and then realized too late or something. It's kind of strange. Or maybe they were just trying to stack the wave so that they go for the push with this catapult wave. Actually, now I'm looking at it. It seems really likely. They're going to be able to get this tower in the bottom lane, but rotation coming from the mid lane. We just Zik and Jackal on their way in. Here comes the disruption on Lina. Going to start off Soul Catchers there and the Torrent and the boat coming in. Going to do good damage. NS down as well. That's 2 kills already. Illidan being chased down, but Jackal not going to be able to keep giving chase. Illidan a little bit too fast, but that's 2 kills. From that rotation from iCCup, and do they get to deny on the tower as well? Nope, tower just went down to the radiant. Okay,
so but nobody got the last hit either. Tame gets resolution though in the middle. Nice dive
always
there
want to
using
fly
the ultimate
bottom
as well.
too, as well as going to go down just with the 4-second stun coming out from Illidan. He's level 7 now, so pretty rough. And Midas picked up on Mag, so he's getting big farm now on this lone druid.
I like the safe lane lone druid to start with Midas, especially if you're not facing any meaningful pressure. If you are going the Radiance Rush, which is frequently what we want to do as safe lane lone druid, that's a good way to start it. He will see that there are... Oh, he won't see that there are 3 people, because we've got a smoke gang coming in. Nice hook shot right onto the hero, and the tether stun coming in. Bear is now inside, but Mag's in a tremendous amount of trouble. Light Strike Array, Dragon Slave, and the auto attack from Arsart will finish that off. And 3 quick kills for VP, matched only by another successful gank on Tame My Wild. So TMW Crazy is being shut out, but otherwise I think VP are doing well. I did want to say the double-sided nature of the Lich. So always want to fly has been able to do extremely well just by pulling this lane back, and in fact pulling this lane back was what led to that double kill with the rotation, because usually you wouldn't expect the lane to be this close to Lich's tower, but because it's, or the off lane's tower, but because it's Lich in the off lane, the lane gets pushed, and you can see Lich's great stats in 6.78 there. I mean, he's a pretty promising pick in all sorts of situations, but the double-sided nature is now that the tower's down, Lich is completely unsafe to keep doing these tricks, and that's how he ended up dying, and it gives VP a tremendous amount of room to play here.
Yep, but in the meantime, iCCup now trying to punch this bottom lane. It's pushing out towards that tower again. Lich can't come out, but we just Zik Jackal. They're going to come in with this smoke gang, trying to go once again on NS and Illidan. NS the easier target. We'll see who they go for. It looks like it's going to be Illidan first. Soul Catcher's there, and Torrent, and the boat. It's going to be doing big damage. Illidan, he's dead. NS now in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have tether off cooldown, but it looks like they're not going to try and give chase. Maybe worried someone else is going to show up. Of course, Kasai, he has made his way down there as well, getting pretty close. And another just easy gank. Jackal having a lot of success on this Kunkka this game.
He really is, and that was always one of Fly's level 6 as well. So he's actually the last support on iCCup to hit 6. We still have NS and Arsart languishing a little bit at 5. These are 2 heroes who I actually really think need to hit 6 quickly, so I would expect them to jungle for... You can see they're dual jungling here. This is smart. Laguna Blade's very important for Lina to hit in a timely fashion to be a useful hero in any shape or form, since really all she brings is damage, so you want to bring as much damage as possible. And Io, of course, you can't say enough about how important it is for this hero to hit 6 just for that relocate. But Chain Frost is a huge deal, and if Chaos Knight and Io jump on you, they want to stay close together to keep that tether going, but they also kind of want to split up if you drop a Chain Frost on them. With 10 bounces, if you don't split the hell up, which of course pro players have the capacity to, but sometimes the situation doesn't call for it, that can deal more damage than almost any ultimate in the game at level 6.
Yeah, definitely. If you just sit on top of each other, that ultimate is absolutely devastating. So they're going to have to break apart very quickly as soon as they see that Chain Frost coming out. Fortunately, it's a pretty slow-moving projectile, so you can usually see it coming, but Lich just a pretty good pickup, it would seem, against Wisp in general. Lich going to go down in the bottom lane while this is going on. Lina just finishes it up. Very easy ganks anytime Lich gets close just with that Reality Rift. But yeah, because Wisp always wants to be within tether range of a hero, tethered to something, that means you have to run away, break your tether anytime the Chain Frost comes out. Otherwise, you're not going to actually be helping the person you're tethered to. You're just going to be a target for that Chain Frost to bounce off of.
And iCCup trying to do something a little clever. I don't actually love this play too much, because what they're doing is they're trying to bait somebody into TPing to defend while the Lone Druid is pushing. Oh, maybe it'll work. They're still here. They haven't been spotted out just yet. They were in that tiny little area at nighttime between the 2 towers. Arsart's in here. Oh, here comes the relocate. That's trouble for Jackal now, trying to flee. There's the Laguna Blade. He's actually still alive. Dragon Slave will miss. NS still chasing, trying to melee him down, basically. We just Zik finally getting picked up, but Jackal might make it out. So losing Shadow Demon but not Kunkka in a situation that looked as grim as that is actually not the worst thing you can have. Mag chasing Illidan off, and they just walk away with 1 death. Not so bad.
Yeah, the fortunate thing is Jackal immediately threw that torrent where the relocate was coming in. Didn't catch Wisp, but it did catch Illidan on the Chaos Knight. And of course, the disable and then the slow that lingers a little bit afterwards was just enough to keep Chaos Knight off of him while he fled. He was able to get away. They pay with the Shadow Demon's life, but trading that for a relocate gank early in the game, probably not the worst thing. They're keeping the Kunkka alive, they're keeping the Lone Druid alive with something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The whole thing with relocate is it's got a hefty cooldown. You want to use it every single time and get a lot of equity out of it. Like, you want to be using it to curry advantage in the game, especially when you're playing with, again, basically no carries or just one carry. The Chaos Knight has to be continually getting kills to keep up on farm because he is one of the worst carries in the game at flash farming. A Kunkka or a Lone Druid are going to be able to farm much quicker and outscale the Chaos Knight later unless the Queen of Pain goes some sort of crazy auto attack build, which I doubt. So every relocate has to count, and that one did count. It prevented kills as well as getting one. But they're going to want every relocate from here on out to be big, big plays, and it wasn't quite as big as maybe you'd want.
Yeah, definitely. And we're seeing a little bit of the pressure coming off from iCCup. Now they're aware that Wisp is level 6. They have to be a little bit more cautious with what kind of ganks they try and throw out. They can't really afford to overextend like that again and get caught out because the threat of that relocate gank is always there. And of course, Lone Druid, we see him farming more safely. He's in the jungle, now he's farming the creep wave and it's close to his tower. Just wants to be careful, doesn't want to get caught out, not going to push the lane up as much as he once was.
Another big relocate in response to a lasso, and
there's
just
Chain Frost
again.
Doing a lot of damage, and NS is going to go down. Illidan trying to do whatever he can. He's having a little bit of success, still alive for the moment, just because he's quite tanky. He's starting to get away, but it looks like he will go down the end. Lich going to get that last hit. Tamewild going to throw out the ult, finishes off Kunkka in the back of the fight, and it looks like that might be it. No, Arsart going to go down, gets finished off by a Shadow Poison. And they're still going. Kasai trying to get close. We just Zik going to get caught in cogs. Tamewild bleeding forward, throwing out one last scream, doing some good damage. Always want to fly. They're going to be able to get away now. Resolution, full health, full mana. Not exactly who you want to fight in Tamewild. And of course, we're seeing Resolution's impact for the first time in this game. Finally finished. That Blink Dagger comes out of the jungle with Batrider and immediately starts trying to use that ult.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to point out from that fight is the boat versus the burst damage. Again, VP ended up having to use... I actually feel that that fight favored VP on the positioning. It favored VP on the initiation. The lasso didn't pull Queen of Pain in a direction where iCCup could deal a lot of damage to her. So I felt that that was all VP, but then... the fight got split up enough that Sonic Wave was probably only going to hit one person. They would ideally like to use it to mop up the Lich and the Shadow Demon in one fell swoop, but they can't because Laguna Blade hits Kunkka after he has the Ghost Ship buff, and he barely takes any damage from it. It's a 50% damage reduction on top of his magic resist. And so VP uses three ultimates. They use Hookshot and Laguna Blade and Sonic Wave to kill Kunkka. Sure, they did kill Kunkka after all of that, but that's something that could have gotten them 2-3 kills, and instead, they walk away with only a 2-for-2 trade and another relocate that's good but not great.
Yeah, and they also ended up losing their top tier 1 tower. Mag was able to push that down as Lone Druid. He's getting dangerously close to having that relic, only about 300 gold away at this point, which means he's going to have that Radiance up in the near future, and that's the sort of thing that VP are going to have to deal with. And they get that gank off on the Shadow Demon again, but it's still not the target they really want when they're going for these ganks. They need to be getting these kills on the Lone Druid, on the Kunkka, trying to slow them down. And starting to look kind of familiar to what happened yesterday against Alliance with this Lone Druid starting to get pretty big.
Nice relocate gank, though. Nice turret in response by Jackal, the boat to reduce his incoming damage, and he might actually live through this? How? Here's the last one on Chaos Knight. They're going to try to split these guys up. There's the X marks the spot. Pulls it off too early, or it's actually only rank 1, so unfortunately the timing on that way too delicate. But still, no success. Yeah, a little bit of a troll smiley face from NS. And now Resolution has to run a hook shot in on him, though. He's stuck under the tower. Nice flame break, but I don't think he can escape. Tamewild just bearing down on him heavily. The mechanism comes in from Always Want to Fly. Tamewild jumping in, but he might die to Chain Frost. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the end. Queen of Pain for Batrider, and again, VP, the opportunities are being generated correctly. It's just a question of how robust is the strategy against iCCup.
Yeah, definitely, and they're going to get this kill in the top lane after the relocate. They're going on Mag, though. They catch him out, and they have the stuns. I think they're going to be able to bring him down. They should be able to, unless the disruption's there, and it is, but Arthur gets the last hit. Now, NS in a lot of trouble, might be going down. Still alive for the moment. The stun comes off on Jackal, and they're going to be able to get him instead. NS does end up going down in the meantime to the ult from the Shadow Demon, but they're taking a lot of damage. Illidan, oh, did he turn off his armlet?
I think he did.
And then got killed by the Shadow Poison. Just really good
Yep.
play there coming out from Regis. Like, as soon as he turned off the armlet, popped that Shadow Poison. Finish him off. So it ends up being a 2-for-2 trade. It does favor VP. They got both the carries down for iCCup, but they lose Illidan again. He's really their only carry unless Tamar Wild starts getting really big. And she struggled a lot early. Doesn't really have many items yet.
Yeah. The one thing that I think is going well for VP is that at long last, I think they are keeping Jackal down successfully. His farm has basically flatlined. Like, he was doing very well early with a ton of kills, a ton of last hits, good development. And since then, even when they don't kill him, they just keep him from farming. He was on pace to get a blisteringly fast Shadow Blade, and now it's going to actually be fairly slow. He's now only the third most farmed person on his team. His net worth is behind both Queen of Pain and Chaos Knight, and I think VP are going to be happy with that. Kunkka's a hero who needs to hit those breakpoints on items to be effective. He needs a good Shadow Blade time. Oh, a missed hook shot there on Always Wanna Fly, but they're going to have to try to find this Kunkka some safer farm, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely they want to get more farm on that Kunkka so he can continue having a big impact in the game, especially if they're going to rely on Mag going for this Radiance build. He probably wants another item before he's really going to start getting involved in these fights. He's still not particularly tanky on the bear. Usually you want to pick some like AC up after that to give him some armor so that the bear can survive a little bit more long. In these team fights, just because Chaos Knight does a lot of physical damage, it can burst down heroes even without, just like having a lot of HP isn't enough against a hero like Chaos Knight as the game goes on. Quick look at the gold and experience graphs, though. We see that it is favoring iCCup in terms of gold by only about 2k, so it's still a really close game thus far. But just because Lone Druid's able to get quite a bit of farm, it is favoring them early. And experience looking about the same, sitting about 3.5k. Pretty even game in terms of kills, though. And I think that favors iCCup. They have the more aggressive lineup. They want to be getting these kills, and they're not really having a lot of success thus far.
I think iCCup is comfortable continually trading, especially if they can find farm in between the trades, or especially if the trades don't involve Lone Druid dying. Oh, here comes the relocate, though.
Yeah, Illidan going to go in, is able to get the Reality Rift, but it was on the bear and not on the hero, so just going to back off, and that relocate is just going to be completely wasted. They have to run away, because all 5 heroes are here. The pull on NS, I don't know what that's about. The boat comes through and they're not able to do anything. Did they not realize it was a boat gank? I don't know. Kasai, though, goes in, is going to be in the middle of all 5 heroes, taking a lot of damage, trying to run away, and it looks like he will go down. Batrider able to get the last hit with one last auto attack, and the tower goes down as well. Kunkka able to get that down. So a really strange fight. A lot of spells used on the Wisp who is relocating out.
Right.
But and then Clockwork initiates into all 5 when there was really not that much of a reason. The team had really disengaged at that point.
Yeah, but in the end, I think iCCup, again, that's something they're totally unhappy with. The thing is that Boat is just not a tremendously precious spell. Oh, wow, God, Resolution, he's so good. He blinks in the middle of a Reality Rift, thus stuffing the Reality Rift and saving his life, and frankly, saving this Tier 1 tower. If that Rider drops, they don't get to defend that. But I was saying, Boat, because of the extremely low cooldown on it, it's actually not that precious. You're happy to use the Boat to make sure that you can secure a tower, for instance, and that's what they did there. Because the Boat hit all 5 of their heroes, even though it didn't hit anybody on VP, it meant that there was no way VP could initiate on them. And so it was basically a free tower and a free Clockwork, because Clockwork put himself in range for munching. And again, VP, good Radiance timing from Mag, average Shadowblade timing for Jackal, especially considering his start. I would go as far as to say mediocre timing. But they gotta be happy, I feel. They're weathering the storm that comes out early game from a team that looks like VP's team looks.
Yeah, I think maybe the most surprising part was the lasso, really, for me. That Batrider went in and lassoed Wisp with like a couple seconds left. Maybe they weren't really sure what the timing was. Boat, certainly a spell that you can just throw out and because the buff is so powerful as long as it passes over your team. Sure, but lasso, definitely a spell that you want to be saving to make sure you're getting a kill. I guess the same way relocate is, so they end up sort of both using it underwhelmingly. And now we're going to see a tier 1 tower trade. Mid going to be taken by VP, it looks like. It's really low, and TPs are coming in. And the TP support is coming away from the bottom lane. We're going to go in, though. A boat flying through, trying to do some damage, but already Resolution going to be down. Illidan searching for more, but Jackal going to Shadowblade away. It looks like nothing up for him. Tamar Wild going to go down. They're getting just Zik now. The stun use, 4 seconds, still going to take him down. Arsart going down to the bear, though. This Radiance burn just doing too much damage, and they don't really have a lot of survivability right now. There goes the relocate out from NS. Probably going to be forced to just suicide unless he gets really lucky with the creep positioning when he gets back in to be able to tether out.
Are they both coming back? No, they're not. It's just going to be NS, so he's dead.
They even go with the lasso for this to make sure he can't tether away. And the X marks
and
the spot.
X?
You were standing right here, sir. So Wisp's going to go down. Definitely that fight did not go the way VP wanted to. Ends up being a 4-for-2
No.
trade, and they don't get any of the core heroes down really for
They got
iCCup.
Batrider, and he bought back. But in the end, I think it's a fine buyback. He didn't get much done after he bought back, but it did secure the win. And they're going to take a Roshan here. And also, honestly, yeah, that was not even the ideal fight for iCCup, and it already looked really good. Like, there were unlucky Chain Frost bounces. There did happen to be a creep wave, and 6 of the 10 Chain Frost bounces ended up hitting the creeps rather than the heroes, but you could still see that that was more or less an above-average Chain Frost relative to the stats that K-Pop was posting, so that's only going to get stronger and stronger. Always Wanna Fly has found the levels. He's found the farm. He's got Mechanism. He's got part of... I guess this is BKB, actually. I don't think this is an Ags. He would have made the point booster first. And BKB is very strong against a team where, I mean, strong against everybody on this team, especially, you know, Queen of Pain, Lina, Chaos Knight.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it's going to be a BKB. I don't think I've ever really seen BKB come up on Lich before. He's doing very
not
well.
usual.
Definitely doing pretty well, so if he can get it, it's very powerful against these effects. You don't want to get caught by Chaos Bolt, by anything Lina's throwing out.
Yeah.
Just all of that damage, and you're not really the naturally tankiest hero. And with that Frost Armor, you already have some good survivability against physical damage. You're just really weak to the magic, so it could be a very powerful pickup here, and makes him pretty resilient to these relocate ganks as well.
Definitely. And I honestly, I would love to see the BKB here. I think it's a non-traditional but really smart choice because if he thinks that to win a team fight they dump Chain Frost on people, the only way he's going to know that he can dump that Chain Frost and use this mechanism is if he has the BKB. Because otherwise, there's no reason, if you're VP, not to target Lich first. The only other candidate that you would want to pick off quickly is Batrider when he's lassoing you, but you can do that before Lich even enters the fight. Or maybe Kunkka, but he's going to get pretty tanky. And he's building BKB as well. So, yeah, I like this from iCCup. The only thing is, I would be careful if I were iCCup to not over BKB. Because, didn't we just talk about this the other day? Don't get BKB on every core, iCCup.
Yeah, if you get a lot of BKBs, it ends up being weird. It makes it very obvious what the other team should be doing, and it's usually stacking armor, or things that are armor reduction. They're going to go in on the bear here. 4-second stun, they should be able to take it down pretty quickly with all the stuns that they have, so it's going to be 300 gold for somebody, and they do give it to Illidan, so that's a lot of gold to give him on this carry. But he's still struggling in terms of farm. Just the bear has gotten so big, and they haven't really done enough to shut down Mag. They got that one kill on him early on, then they got a second one sort of later, but not having a ton of effect because he's just still sitting there farming. He's got his Radiance, he's got Plate Mail and a Hyperstone, so he's almost got the AC at this point. And I don't know what their team is really going to be able to do against this bear until the very, very late game when Chaos Knight starts getting out of control with the physical damage, because for now, he really doesn't hit that hard.
No, I feel Chaos Knight is suffering from just Chaos Knight disease. It's like, it just is a hero that if he's not constantly killing, he has trouble farming effectively. He has trouble keeping up that GPM. At any given time, Chaos Knight can either be fishing for kills or farming. Like, he can't really just jump into a fight, quickly get a couple kills, and then leave immediately. Like, only if the relocate ganks are really working well does that work. Tame My Wild very deep, but Resolution fishing for him heavily. He's got the 4-staff. Will this? No. Tame My Wild managing to blink away. And actually, VP has split this fight effectively, picking up a kill on Ouija's sick. Nice hook there. They actually get the Aegis, and I think Kunkka dies. iCCup may have tried to get too clever. Kunkka taking a lot of damage, 2-second stun, pushed out of the cogs, and yeah, Arsart actually lands the last hit, so they get another tower, but they lose the Kunkka, lose the SD. Do you think this tips it to VP at all, or do they just need to try to snowball a lot harder than this?
I mean, getting those kills is always the sort of thing you need to bring it back, but I don't think it's quite enough yet, and Kunkka, like, it's a good pick to get, but at the same time, Lone Druid is still just sitting in the jungle farming away, and he has that AC picked up now. I think they need to really try and set up some more kills on this Lone Druid. They do have that one ward in the Dire jungle, hanging out there trying to spot him out for maybe a relocate gank or two on him, but maybe need another ward, potentially on the high ground over on top of that cliff. Or something like that if they want to try and get this Lone Druid, because if he's able to just sit there and farm and get another arm, maybe a Basher next, it's going to be pretty difficult for VP to deal with it.
I agree. And VP are developing, I would say, fairly well. Tame My Wild has his Orchid. Illidan picked up the BKB, which I think is pretty important for them, honestly. It's not tremendously strong, but he does want resilience against things like Disruption and Chain Frost. That said, it's honestly the BKB. It's important for him, but it's just not going to do that much. Simply because iCCup do have 3 ultimates that go through BKB: the boat, not the damage component, but the stun component; the disruption, the purge of the Shadow Demon, and of course the lasso of Batrider. Not to mention entangles. So Illidan's going to need one more item to really be that scary, unless they get favorable positioning in a fight. And Arsart's Aghanims, that's what I'm really looking forward to, because if he can pop Lich early in a fight, that might be a big deal.
Yeah, if they can get that burst damage down before the boat flies out and before a lot of the big spells start coming off from iCCup, it can just turn the tide in their favor very, very quickly. They're still just trading towers, and when you're picking up such an aggressive lineup and your main carry is Chaos Knight and all you can get out of the game is trades, the game is just really not going your way, and we see some lines drawn on the map now from iCCup. Always want to fly. They're heading back towards that mid lane. Not sure what else they want to do. They got that tier 2 bottom. The last tower remaining on the outside of the base is that tier 2 mid. Maybe they're going to be their next target. It looks like VP not really going to be able to get this tier 2 top, and they're already backing off from it. They know everyone from iCCup is missing, and they don't want to try and take that fight. At least not right now, so they're probably feeling like they're a little bit behind too by avoiding all these fights.
Yeah, VP's vision also isn't stupendous. They're not guaranteed to sort of catch one person. Their vision isn't robust enough that they can sort of know that, for instance, Fly is alone under his tower. If they jump in, who knows? I mean, they just see the bear coming out, so that sort of verifies their suspicion that if we see one person, we can still get sort of sabotaged, and that's a problem for them. iCCup's vision is also not great, but iCCup right now is in a position of needing less. This Lone Druid is developing so quickly, 533 GPM, which is quite good. He's got his cloak for some survivability on the main hero, and of course the bear is really quite large. Of course, the Radiance, the AC, he's got gold on top of this, and iCCup I think are happy to let this develop a little bit further, especially as they try to finish their BKBs, finish maybe Chrysalis for Kunkka. I mean, they're in good shape.
Yeah, and the initiation going to be on Kasai in the middle lane. It looks like he's probably going to be going down this clockwork before he gets anything done, and in fact does. The initiation now coming in though on Zik from Illidan. He's going to go down immediately. Jackal trying to get away. The ult coming out from Team Wild doesn't really hit anything. Mag caught by a buyback hook shot though. Caught in the cogs. Now the boat going to fly through. Pulled out Mag from the cogs to keep the boat buff on him. Illidan trying to give chase, but Mag is getting away. The Chain Frost bouncing through in the back of the fight. In the meantime, Mag trying to get out and is going to get caught by Illidan in the end. Resolution now comes out, gets caught by a 3-second stun. The ult or damage just misses from Lina. Trying to get down and does get the kill, and always on fly caught as well. A huge team fight for VP on the back of that buyback from the clockwork.
Yeah, good buyback for Cassia, and I just feel like iCCup took a fight with a weird positioning when they didn't necessarily have to take a fight. I mean, we were just talking about how they didn't necessarily need to try to make too much happen in this game, and instead they decided to do it. Jackal getting weirded out by the Dota bug fix there. Torrent now does damage over time, whereas for a while it was bugged to deal all its damage in one instance, so he tried to walk back into the jungle camp, and then he was like, oh right, it's DOT now, it's going to clear this camp out. But yeah, I don't know that they needed to take that fight, and frankly it wasn't a great one. The boat only hit, it only defensively hit Jackal, and only offensively hit Xi. The Chain Frost was almost big, but then 2 hits were dispersed onto Chaos Knight Illusions, and only 2 hits actually hit players. Just in general, that wasn't a great fight for them, and I don't feel they felt confident after the fight started. Like, Mag didn't resummon his bear, which, I mean, he did end up dying, so he didn't want to risk it, but I actually feel that if he had resummoned the bear, he could have gotten at least a kill or 2 off of it, and maybe even turned the fight. It was just after the fight broke out, they were like, oh, we weren't ready for this at all. And so it was a little bit tumultuous, a little bit uncoordinated from them. And VP's first convincing fight of the game, and it brings Chaos Knight back on the board in terms of item development.
Yeah, definitely Chaos Knight is able to start getting some items with that Reaver pickup. Now he's going to get quite tanky. These Illusions going to be doing even more damage because, of course, he's a strength hero. Gives some base damage by picking up that strength item. And probably going to be turning this into a heart. It's also possible it could be satanic, but I think heart's a lot more common on Chaos Knight.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lone Druid, I don't know why he didn't resummon his bear. I think even worst case scenario, he maybe gets an entangle and just gets away. He didn't really go down as quickly as maybe he was expecting, and that's what ends up being the problem. Is that he thought he was going to die right away, and then he was able to start making a break for it while sort of the cogs kept part of VP back. Wisp, Lina, they were not, or Lina and Clockwork really weren't close to him, whilst Wisp, Chaos Knight were sort of trying to chase him, and they couldn't really get him down very quickly. Yeah. Regardless, he does go down. He gets his bear still now, so who knows what happens? You know,
Yeah,
It is
I
what it
mean,
is.
it is what it is. I totally agree with you, Kanaz. I think he thought he was like, oh, I'm screwed. I'm dead. Why would I resummon the bear when I'm just not going to have it for 2 minutes? It's a very high value bear. I mean, it's holding a radiance, it's holding a cuirass. He didn't have any opportunity to move items off of it, for instance, in the case of certain deaths. So he was like, I need this bear when I resummon, so I might as well cut my losses at this point. You gotta think that iCCup were also fairly nervous. They had a lead, but it was precarious. They didn't want to sort of give away too much from one bad fight. So I think the psychology got in the way of the strategy in some respects.
Yep, it's certainly very possible and probably even likely, but iCCup not going to smoke, and they're going to run right into VP's team if they go here. Illidan going to reveal the smoke. We just Zik, is he going to be spotted out? There you go. Lasso going to be on Illidan, but he gets the BKB off in time. Taking quite a bit of damage, nonetheless, the boat going to fly through doing good damage, and Illidan with the ult trying to do whatever he can, going on always want to fly first. It looks like they want to take him down before he gets his ult off. Can they do it, though? Not thus far. Shen was able to finish off one. Lina taking down Lich. He doesn't get his ult off in the end. Resolution trying to get away. He did get away, ported all the way back to base. And now Illidan in some trouble from the bear chasing after him. Gets the stun on the bear itself, trying to run away. Toggling actually between the ticks from Radiance. Pretty good there, but not going to be able to get out. Jackal ends up getting last hit. Now Tamar Wild maybe in a little bit of trouble. Going to have to blink away, but the bear is quite fast. Should be able to get out just fine, though. Low enough cooldown on Blink at this point in the game. And it ends up just being a trade, but that's one that definitely favors iCCup. With Illidan going down, they only lose 2 supports.
Yeah, strong trade for iCCup. Bring down the Chaos Knight, delay that heart, which is going to be a big deal. And I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about that fight, Kanaz, except nerf Ghost Ship. Cause
Ghost Ship is real strong here. It's been showing its stuff in this game. Just you can't take down that Lich fast enough. They committed so much to burning him down. They eventually get him, but it made it so that they didn't have a lot of damage to put elsewhere. And now iCCup on the back of the fight just get a free Roshan.
It took so much damage to kill a freaking Lich of all heroes, and Resolution now hunting Arsart on the back. They won't get it. In fact, Tamar might be able to punish him a little bit. No, he won't. But yeah, a free Roshan. I just feel like the Ghost Ship huge there, because in some respects, VP kind of picked into it, especially with the Lina. I mean, Lina, a hero who is bursty. She wants to pick off heroes early in a fight, and when she's fighting heroes who have that Coco's rum, the Kunka's rum on them, it's difficult for her.
I think it actually still says Coco's rum if you look.
Does it still say Coco's?
Oh no, it does say Kunka's rum. Alright. Alright. I think it did at one point, maybe they fixed it
did.
now. Yeah.
It did in Dota 2 for a while, but I think they changed it. But yeah, Lina is just... Arsart has, again, amazing farm for a 4-position player. He's got more farm than Xi. He's got more farm than Resolution, for Pete's sake. About the same, really.
Yeah,
but
really close.
He's got BKB and part of an Ags. You're so happy with this on Lina, except for one tiny fact. You're having trouble actually doing anything on Lina. Meanwhile, Tamar Wild's scouting this out completely. He's got the gem. iCCup does not. Could this be a huge initiation for iCCup here?
They're going on Resolution, trying to put some good damage on him with the Orchid as well, but Tamar Wild, no one else was really close enough. I feel like he could have waited another couple seconds, maybe 3 seconds, and then Illidan, Wisp, they're a little bit closer on that Chaos Knight to do some damage, hold the Batrider in place. In fact, they probably get that kill, but instead they just let the Batrider fly away with that, and now that gank just kind of worn off, they're going to have to back off, and you know, they're not having the success I think they really need to.
No, and Tamar Wild is also struggling to find farm because he's trying to spot. Because their vision isn't great, and iCCup have been somewhat diligent about counterwarding, VP's vision is mostly concentrated on their own side of the map. So Tamar Wild has been doing a lot of spotting and a lot of dueling with the Batrider, which of course has hurt Batrider's farm tremendously, but that's less important for iCCup than it is for VP to have Tamar Wild as an alternate damage source. So he will get BKB soon, which I think is good, but I don't even know if I want him to get BKB. I almost just want him to go Sheepstick. Now, he gets the BKB. I just feel like against a team that has this much stuff that does damage to you even through BKB, I don't know. It's good against Chain Frost, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I guess one of the ideas is if they have enough heroes that have these BKBs, and it looks... Is Io going BKB as well? That they can just stand the fight and not be concerned about Chain Frost and force the fight through it.
Maybe.
And also, they have these abilities, but a lot of that go through it, but they're all single target. Demonic Purge, Lasso, you can get one guy with those. So if everyone's got a BKB on, who are you going to pick?
I guess, but Lone Druid and Kunkka will still be doing tremendous damage. And honestly, isn't that testament to the power of Lich now as a pick, that he forces the entire opposing team to get BKBs? I mean, if you knew that you could pick a hero that would force the entire opposing team to pick one expensive item, rather than like damage items to actually punish you, I think you do it 9 out of 10 times. So always want to fly, forcing VP to adapt heavily. Illidan is done with his heart, so that's going to be nice.
Yeah, and K-Pop pointing out that Sanj is a pretty common pickup on IO, but we're going to have the initiation here. Illidan getting pulled once again. This time he doesn't get the BKB off before he gets pulled, and he immediately goes down. Kunka going to get that last hit. And that's going to be Kasai going down as well, trying to do whatever he can, but gets disrupted. Drops the cogs as he dies, and two heroes down. No buyback.
No buyback for Suke. They've still got Aegis for 2 minutes. I don't know about this. I think this is tier 3.
Yeah, I think this tier 3 is in a lot of trouble, and they can probably take Rex as well, just because the bear does so much damage to these towers. And this
still got a boat.
Yeah, this is the kind of problem that they ran into against Alliance the other day, where they lost a fight that maybe they didn't need to lose, and then just on the back of it, a lone druid with his pushing power, with how much damage this bear could do to the buildings, just takes a set of Rex. So now VP in the back foot, Tamar, while going to get caught as well, just goes down immediately before she can do anything. They're pretty good damage down to Jackal and Resolution. Resolution actually going to go down to towers. But we just taking a lot of damage there from the Laguna Blade. Still alive though, and Lina gonna go down. I don't know if they're just trying to get whatever kills they can before they give up the game here, but they're...
Well, NS might die to Radiance.
He is gonna die to Radiance. He is...
Oh, tether stun! Oh god, NS is such a good player.
Oh, wow. Just barely able to get out with that tether stun, just out of range. Yeah, NS gets away. That's a lot to give up though. They lose the Rax, they give up 3 more or I guess only 2 more heroes in their base, just while Resolution's the only one go down. And they're going to the bottom lane. They get the kill on Lich, like the relocate gank, and they'll be able to get this tower as well. Jackal coming in, but he's not going to be able to defend the tower.
No. I mean, Lich does have buyback, but...
Oh, whoa, the crit from Jackal! NS dead immediately. There comes the Torn as well, and the boat. Illidan taking a ton of damage, pops the BKB before the boat hits them. Jackal in some trouble now. Gonna get the stun as well as the Reality Rift and the Phantasm, trying to do whatever they can, but Illidan's gonna go down. The tower's going to be kept safe as well. Jackal survives. The boat just too strong. Oh, the rocket flies in, takes the Aegis though, because it's still up for just a matter of seconds at that point. Oh, like
the
40.
Clock Rock coming in there, and but I mean, that was the Aegis. It would have been reclaimed in a minute, so before their next push came. So even as good of aim as that Clock Rock was, it's not honestly a big deal if you're VP. Kunkka replaces it with a freaking Reaver, so wonder if he'll go hard or if he'll go Satanic.
I think Satanic would be a little bit of a better choice on a hero like Kunkka. Heart definitely a powerful effect as well though, and if they think they're going to be doing a lot of extended pushes, which they certainly can with a hero like Lone Druid, it can be a very powerful effect as well if he's just not super concerned about the lifesteal.
Yeah, and iCCup, I mean, they know Airman doesn't have BKB, because if he didn't have it then, he certainly doesn't have it now. So, honestly, with how big this bear is, I think this is another free rack. VP will not be able to muster up a defense before Illidan comes back up. Maybe they can get kills.
Yeah, they go in R-Start immediately. It looks like R-Start going to go down before he can do anything. Tamarwell coming in, trying to do whatever he can, but down as well. Even with the BKB, the Demonic Purge is just enough slow. And Kasai now getting caught by the Axe. Doesn't look like they're going on him really. They're going to charge. But the clock's going to be dropped, and it looks like it's fine. But they lose their bottom set of racks already. Here comes Illidan in now. The Disruption going to keep his target alive. Mag trying to be the target now. They get the Reality Rift, but Wisp already down, and Illidan cannot even move. That's going to be another death for VP, and they're going to call the GG. iCCup take the first game. And it was against the Wisp Chaos Knight, so looking pretty good when it comes to iCCup in this particular game.
Dude, Kanaz, iCCup, VP got outplayed, straight up. iCCup played incredibly well from them. This is one of the best actual, like, player-by-player performances I've seen coming out of this team, and the incredibly disciplined reaction on both a strategic and a play-by-play level to the Chaos Knight IO. I mean, the Kunkka pick, definitely really smart against it. Even the Lich, because you know how dependent IO is, right? You know how much it needs those levels early. So put a Lich against it. Sure, he might die once or twice, but he's going to steal so much XP from that lane. And even afterwards, they always have to fear the Chain Frost. They go heavily into the BKB to respond to it. None of your other heroes really give two hoots if the team that they're facing have BKB. You've got this Kunkka. VP kind of picks into it. They think, oh, Jackal's not going to do that well on the Kunkka. It's not a hero he plays that much. We'll be fine. But instead, the Lina, even with a great performance, like, imagine how well Arsart would have done if there was no Ghost Ship. Like, this would be like a 13-3 Lina with Ags and maybe Sheepstick. But instead, iCCup, good strategy, good picks, and amazing play. They're looking incredibly strong. I don't even know if VP are favored anymore.
Yeah, I don't either, and we will get to talking about that momentarily in the pregame or the between game show. So feel free to stick around, guys, and we will be back momentarily.